In this video, we're going to have an overview of all the different controls supported by the EZGUI 5.0 Visual Designer. So let's take a look. In the Project Palette window, you have the Controls tab, and you can select that tab at any time and select controls to be drawn on your forms. And we're going to make a large form here so we can have lots of controls on it. And let's look at some of the controls that you can create. You have a regular button control. And remember, a button control can be on or draw. You just select a color, and we have a unique colorized button control, so we really get multiple controls out of this one control. We have the picture control, which is basically a button control with a bitmap picture in there, and that bitmap can be changed in the properties dialog. And similarly, we have an icon button control, and you can have an icon in the middle. And for example, we can change the icon in there. We'll do that. Go up and select a custom icon. For example, we'll put a stop icon on there. And there's a number of icons that are built into the designer that you can use, as well as you can select an icon file. Now, it should be noted that the picture and icon button controls in Windows XP, for some reason, they never really finished it in the operating system, and so they'll go back to the old Windows 95 style buttons. So you'll have theme buttons mixed with old style buttons. Fortunately, in Windows 7, I'm not sure if it's in Vista or not, I think it is, they finally fixed that problem in Windows, and now you actually have a fully themed button with an icon or a bitmap on it. So that's really nice. Well, you've got your standard controls like a checkbox control, radio button or option button control, text box control. Nice thing about text box control is that you can, in the properties dialog, define a mask for it, and EZGUI will revert to the masked edit control rather than normal text control. And so, for example, let's say we want a phone number in a control. Give that mask there. Okay, that's a standard US phone number there. And let's give it a default number. Back it up here. Okay. Okay, now, if I go into test mode, now we have a mask edit control. And there's a lot of features in the masked edit control in EZGUI. It's a custom control that I built and added to EZGUI. And so it allows you to add some significant features to your text control. And then we've got your standard list box control and combo box controls. Now, one of the nice things about the list box control is EZGUI allows you to set a property, convert to drag list. Now watch what happens. I'll go into test mode, and your list box control is converted to a drag list control. Now, that requires a little bit of effort with the Windows API, but it's built into EZGUI, so you can easily define it right in the Visual Designer. Then you've got your scroll bar controls, your vertical and horizontal scroll bar controls. And we can even set the color, see if it works with themes. Yes, it works with themes. That's nice. Sometimes when you work with themes, some features normally control support are not available. Yet this looks really nice. Now we've got a frame control and a label control. And now remember, label control, draw another one. Can also be defined as an owner draw label control. Find a nice little gradient for it. A little 3D effect here. And now we've got a nice 3D gradient label control. Again, part of EZGUI's owner draw engine, right, built in and supported by the designer. We also have a picture control. You can add any bitmap that you like. Icon control. And again, we can select an icon from the built-in icons, or even select a icon file. And your tab control. Progress bar control. Now, one of the things about the progress bar control is that when you're working with themes, you really can't set the colors of a progress bar like you used to be able to do in Windows XP when it was, if an application was on theme. So you can easily go in the project or properties dialog for the control, and you can actually turn off themes if you want to. Now you've got a normal control that uses any colors that you like. And I'm going to make that on a little blue background there. Now I get red on a blue background. Want to go back to themes, just turn that property off and you're back to a themes control. And that's a nice feature that you can actually turn themes on and off for each individual control if you need it. We've got a spinner control. We've got a rich text control. Now in the designer, it will display a rich text 1.0 control, but the generated code can actually allow you to use a 2.0, 3.0, or even a 4.0 rich edit controls in your application, and EZGUI handles it all for you. And here's a custom control, comes with EZGUI, and it's a turtle graphic control. And a turtle graphic control basically is a vector-based image where you define one of the properties, and then I go into a dialog, and here's the definition. Basically, it's a little scripting language, a turtle graphics macro language, and it's scalable. You can even create files and save them and create turtle graphics, and you have the definitions of all the different turtle graphic commands, and there's quite a lot of different turtle graphic commands here, and you can save it. And notice this, watch when I scale it. Okay. Automatically scales because it's a vector-based image. And so let's find a nice white background. Okay. Turtle graphic control is a very useful control for vector-based images. Then we have some of the common controls like list view control. And I always like to have the grid lines in mind, so you can display the grid lines there. Tree view control. Track bar controls. And remember, all these controls, you can set a number of options and properties for them, which customizes them even more. Now here's another custom control. It's the EZGUI canvas control. And this is for drawing. It's kind of similar to the Power Basic DDT graphic control, but it's much more sophisticated. In the designer, you can just lay out the control, but the EZGUI runtime engine has a very complex command set for working with the canvas control, and it supports 2D animation using EZGUI's proprietary 2D sprite engine. You can work with div sections, image filters, and a variety of other things with the canvas control. So very, very, very powerful control for building your applications. Then there's the animation control, and that's the Windows common control, animation control, and your little video going there. And animation controls, they just display simple AVI files, which have to be in RLE compressed format, 256 color RLE without audio. And but other than that, they can actually animate a nice little image, which is really nice for your applications. Another control, a common control, is the date time control. And I think to appreciate this one, we need to go into test mode. And let me just, okay, display it like that. I'll go into test mode, and it drops down a calendar, which really is a nice feature. Okay, now running out of space here, so I'm gonna move some of these controls a little bit up here out of the way, give myself a little more space. Okay, that gives us a little more room to work with. I'll put that up here. Okay, and I got a little more space to work with. Let's look at some more controls here. Next one is the shape hotspot control. Now this is an interesting control. This is a custom control that I designed in EZGUI. It's built in. And this custom control can really display a number of shapes, and this is not a native control to Windows, but it's quite useful. For example, let's say I want a control and I want to have a colored border. Well, I can define that border color very easily, and I can define the background color as well. But it goes even further. For example, let me make it white in the background again. I can make it circular. So now I have a rectangle with circular corners. I can get rid of the rectangular property, and now it's a complete circle or ellipse. And it uses a method of drawing so that it can show things through that are not in the core part of the control there. So you notice that you don't see it like a white corner here or anything like that overlapping this control here. I can even make the control transparent background. Now I have a control. Let me put it over another control. And let's see. I need to change the tab order here, so I'm going to just change the tab order real quick. And I need to move the shape control in front of most of the controls here. Okay. Now, notice the other control shows through. That's a nice feature. Now this control here, the shape hotspot control, can also be for hotspots. For example, if I turn it into a hotspot, it would be invisible. I can set the a property that will make it act like it's a hotspot control. Here, make clear hotspot, and that can be put over, say, like a picture control, and you can have clickable hotspots all over a picture control. It can also be used as a splitter bar control. That you do via code. So basically, you would just create the control as a rectangular control, like a regular shape control, and then via code, it can actually be converted into a splitter bar control, which actually gives us one more control. Now the next control we want to look at is the MCI control. Now it doesn't do much in the Visual Designer. You see a little black window here. But via code, this can display movies, play AVI files and MPEG files. It can play audio files such as WAV files, MP3 files. You can even have it play a CD player. So very powerful control. And EZGUI has its own easy scripting language for working with the MCI, so you don't even have to use native MCI commands. You can just use simple EZGUI scripting commands to make your control handle a variety of multimedia. Now the next control is a calendar control. We already saw the date time control, but this is the actual calendar where it's just a fixed calendar. And again, it's a very nice control to use. Now the next one is another custom control that I built into EZGUI, and it's called a file list box control. And let's make it a little bit bigger, and let's run it in test mode so you can see how it works. And here you can see files and so forth, and I can go into different folders and see other files. Then here's the go back to previous folder. I can select a different drive. I can go to the C drive, I can go to the D drive, go into different folders, and so very, very powerful little control. The next one is the property list box control. Now this is really useful. Remember, EZGUI has the ability to do drag and drop. You can actually build your own visual designer with it. So one of the things you really need for that kind of application is a real property list box control. So let's see this one in action. We'll go into test mode. And I can change text. I can have a color field where I can click it and get a color dialog and change the color. I can select a file, and I can go in and select any file that I want. And let's say here. To find a file it likes. Okay, here's one. And I got a file path there. And you notice little 3 dots there. If the text is too big, it basically fits it in there. And then even a drop down list, so I can create a little combo box in the each item. So there's a number of features not actually displayed here, but you can actually go in and you can actually in your application add all the different members to the property list control, list box control. But you can also, let's go into the property dialog for the control. There's a builder dialog where you can go in and you can actually pre-edit all the different fields that are in there and then define them. So there's a number of fields. You can have a category field, text, color, file, drop down, and there's a few other fields that you can have that are supported. For example, I click up here and it shows category, color, drop down list, file name, text, user defined. And so very powerful control, and you can build your own property type dialogues for your applications. Especially useful for kind of what you see, what you get type of applications, drag and drop. Now we have a rebar control, and it doesn't really show much, but you can display rebar forms on it and actually have a real rebar type of application there. Again, the same thing with a pager control. Pager control can scroll a form. For example, if I go into test mode, you'll notice that the pager control's got its, really can't see much there. I'm going to give it some color. Give it a background of a nice dark blue. And I'm going to make some big buttons on it. Okay, a little bit too big. Okay, now go into test mode, and you can actually put a form on that pager control and scroll it, and those arrows will display if the form is bigger than the control. So you can actually put forms and embed them in a pager control. I'm going to get rid of these 2 controls. I'm running out of space here again. I've got a few more controls to go through. The next one is a MIDI client control. And you can actually define your parent form as a MIDI parent form. If I go into the dialog for the properties for a form, I can actually select the option that it would be a MIDI parent form. Here's the option right here. I'll uncheck it. And if it's a MIDI parent, then I can actually create a MIDI client control, which can actually have MIDI child forms on it in your application. So you can create true MIDI or multiple document applications. And then the next control is the geographic control. Now this is similar to the canvas control. It can do everything in canvas control, but it goes further. It's OpenGL based and 3D graphics. And again, it's also scalable. So let's look at it for a moment. I'm going to get rid of a couple controls here and get rid of this one here, that one there. A little more space to work with. And watch what happens. It's scalable because it uses 3D scripting language to display images. So here an actual 3D round sphere and a 3D cube, and you can define your 3D animations using a scripting language. You can load in a STL file format, 3D models, and so forth. And a very, very powerful control for building 3D applications. The final control we'll take a look at is the following. And that is a toolbar strip control. Now, the difference between a toolbar strip control and a regular toolbar control is with EZGUI, you can only have one regular toolbar for a form, because when the form resizes, the toolbar is automatically resized. But you can embed toolbars which are fixed in size, and they can be embedded right on a form. And so it gives you the ability to have toolbars all over the place. And so it's a really nice feature, and it works a little bit differently than a toolbar control, but it has many of the similar features as a regular toolbar control. That's a toolbar strip control. Well, that's all the controls. Now there are 6 other controls on here, and these are the custom controls, which you can build yourself, and they can be loaded in. EZGUI comes with a number of them. For example, I can create a custom list box or combo box control. And for example, I'm going to make this one a color combo box. And when I go into test mode, you'll see what it looks like. Okay, here you got a color combo box. That's built right in there. And so you have the custom version of a combo box, list box, static or label control, tab control, and list view control. And these are ones that you can write yourself. You might say they're your own custom controls. And then EZGUI has its own component engine where you can create different components. And a component basically is a form with controls on it that acts like a control itself. And you can actually compile them DLLs and then load them into the Visual Designer. So we've walked through all the different controls that the designer supports. You have a lot of choices in building your applications, and so that you can really do a lot of different things here. And, oh, one more control I forgot. That's the toolbar control. Well, we have the toolbar strip control, but I didn't show you the regular toolbar control. So let me just move a few controls here, and I'm going to move all the controls down a little bit, give me a little extra space, and I'm going to create a regular toolbar control. And the regular toolbar control I can display, and I can actually select a bitmap that are not only built in, but the bitmaps that you can just load in from a file. And then I can also go into an editor for the toolbar, and this editor allows me to add all the buttons and define the buttons, set their properties, and then whatever the bitmap is that you selected in there, I can select the different icons for each of the buttons. And so I can change them to whatever I want, and then I can save it there, and then I can create my own toolbar. And the nice thing about the toolbar control, the form toolbar control, is that when the form resizes, it's automatically resized with it. So again, we can see all the different controls that we've got here, and gives you a lot of choices. So I think you really enjoy working with EZGUI and building some really complex user interfaces for your Windows applications.